For generations, generational divides have been at the core of cultural clashes between generations of people. However, in the workforce, we see this issue start to kind of be magnified, right? You have older generations of people and their opinions and values and things that they were raised to believe, and younger generations that may kind of have some shifts. This is starting to crystallize in our classrooms and hallways and schools, right? In recent survey on social media, we had principals and administrators that are older that started to provide some feedback about their questions concerning the work ethic of younger teachers that are coming into the classroom. On the other hand, we have feedback from younger generations of teachers, especially Generation Z, who say, it's not that we are opposed to working, that's the problem. It's that we just might have a difference in values when it comes to what hard work looks like and the definition of work ethic at its core. It's an interesting debate. And I think it's important for us to take some time to dive into looking at the generational differences and how they present in the workforce. Some of this data, when you look at it, is very interesting because we see that a lot of times with older generations, they may define what work ethic looks like with things like hours spent, time on particular tasks, pushing through what they call it when there might be complications or obstacles that present, and equating hard work and work ethic to a person's ability to face obstacles and instead of retreat or staying down, level up, push through, abandon whatever is going on and just get things done. And so when we looked at shifting this conversation, a lot of Gen Z teachers commented and they said that what they feel like is happening is they are a generation that are enforcing boundaries like never before. It was an interesting shift for me in terms of the value. The conversation started to shift. They started to say things like, we have parents and grandparents who have been a part of that hard work, but do your job kind of mindset. And they feel like they've seen what the outcomes of that have been, whether that's burnout, whether that's getting to retirement and not having enough money saved, whatever it is that they've seen. Has been a shift for them. Their ability to have conversations in the mainstream about mental health concerns. We saw this issue crystallize at the Tokyo Olympics when Simone Biles, who said she was having a mental disconnect, withdrew from competition. People lambasted her about just this generation being too weak and not pushing through it, not pulling themselves up by the bootstraps, and like, and even to the point of performing through physical ailments, even though that wasn't her case, right? And so over and over again, we see this critique from older generations to young generations. In the classrooms of America is particularly intriguing because there's data that suggests that some of the younger generations are actually seeing better results when it comes to specifically like math performance or improvements in math scores with students. So one has to ask, is this shift in work ethic about the fact that these Generation Z teachers, when you think about their lifespan, they have not had a moment where there was not computers and technology at their disposal at any given moment. And so is it that they need to work harder? Or is it that they're a generation that's committed to working smarter? Perhaps they can do as much as another teacher could do when they had hard copy grade books. You know, teachers used to have to like grade things by hand, and submit papers, and all of these things that they used to have to do a lot of manual labor. Perhaps some of the younger generation of teachers feel like they can get just as much, they can get more things done in less time. And then because they can, it's up to them to maintain boundaries, to not be pulled and stretched to do all the extra things teachers are oftentimes voluntold to do, especially when they are new and coming into the field. It's an interesting question. In the end, I believe that there is an opportunity for both generations to move forward together in a way that allows more effectiveness in classrooms. And that means perhaps the older generation learning some of the quick tips from the younger generation, maybe also learning some lessons and shifting some values around work ethic and work life balance. A lot of Generation Z teachers also mentioned this idea about work not being the core of their identity. as a value shift as well. I'm a teacher, but also I'm a teacher in this time block. And when I leave, I have my other things in my other life, and this job doesn't define me. Perhaps people in some of the older generations can benefit from that shift in values as well. But also, there may be some opportunities for the younger generation to learn from the work ethic of the older generation as well. Maybe there are some times if you start to view your work and your profession as social justice work or as a life's purpose or life calling, that there may be some opportunities where you will put yourself at a disadvantage in order to push through, to take on a little more, to maybe in whatever ways you're comfortable, find yourself inconveniencing yourself, stretching yourself a little bit out of your comfort zone sometimes to learn something new or do something extra, such that it may be beneficial and advantageous to your students and the learning community in general. I think there's a lot to be explored here, but it's a good conversation to start having.